Hey everybody, welcome back to the Amateur Hour Sports Podcast. I got Roman joining me today. We're going to be talking about the Crisis Clubs of the Week in our weekly segment, Crisis Club Monday. Basically, we go over the clubs in world sport who are in the biggest crisis mode this week. And honestly, Roman, this is an off week for Crisis Clubs. There isn't that much to talk about this week.
It was hard for us to find a couple teams.
But we managed to find two teams, and Roman is going to get us started with his Crisis Club of the Week.
So I'm going back to Napoli. I know I did them a few weeks ago, but I think they need to come back on. Yes. So last time we did them, they had an old coach, being Ancelotti. Now they have Gattuso, which was an odd signing to begin with.
Yes.
With the amount of coaches that were up for grabs. And since he's come in, they have won one game and lost 3. That win coming against Sassuolo, and they lost to teams like Parma, which is that's not a good loss.
Well, Parma are doing well this season, but yeah, that's one you should probably be winning.
Inter, I understand that, and Lazio, that's an interesting.
Well, Lazio's making a push, an unlikely Scudetto push this year, but
unlikely.
I mean, if you saw the goal that they conceded, Ospina, was it Ospina or was it Meret?
No, it was Meret's injured. It was Ospina.
It was Ospina who came out of net, basically took too long on the ball, and Immobile slowly closed him down. And eventually Immobile won the ball off of him. And then there was an empty net on a sharp angle, so he tried to curl it in the net. And I think it was Di Lorenzo who was on the line who had ample time to clear it, but completely shanked it into his own net. It was a ugly goal in every department. And in the 80th minute against Lazio, a very poor result, even though Lazio are doing well. If you just look at the state of that goal, it doesn't bode well for Napoli.
No, and there's nothing really transfer-wise that looks like they want to bring in.
Any transfer news about Napoli is outgoing transfers, basically.
No, that's all you hear. You hear they want to get rid of, they want to empty their club, pretty much.
Well, I don't think they want to empty their club. I think that some of the players, like Koulibaly, is far too talented to be 11th place in the Serie A. Like, I was talking midweek about Koulibaly with you, and I was saying he can literally pick any team he wants. And he could go there. He can just pick somebody. There's no team that would not want Kalidou Koulibaly in their team. He would completely turn around. I think he's good enough to completely turn around a team's defense. Like, let's say you went to Man United. Like, completely you would turn around that team. In my opinion, like, as good as Kalidou Koulibaly is defensively, I think one of the most underrated parts of his game is how good he is on the ball, because he's very skillful. Playing at the back. He's honestly not bad, like, technically, like, dribbling. He can just beat a man if he needs to, but that never really is talked about. You see him as, like, a huge presence at the back, tough tackler, he wins headers, but on the ball, he's just as talented as he is defensively. But he's not the only one who talking about going out from Napoli.
There's also Mertens.
Yeah, Mertens.
I can't see Insigne leaving that club.
I don't know.
That's his boyhood club. He won't leave.
Mertens for yes. Sure. There's an issue there.
Possibly Milik.
Yeah, honestly,
he's going to Germany.
The way Milik's been playing, he's gonna have a big club coming for him soon.
Yeah.
He's
and Fabian.
Yeah, Fabian Ruiz as well is another big one.
But Napoli slapped a huge price tag on him.
Well, yeah, because he's been so good for them.
Yeah.
It was what a great sign that was last year. But, I mean...
Don't know about Allen.
Looking at the club this year, last 2 seasons they've been challenging for a Scudetto, winning the Serie A, but 11th place right now, and they're below Milan. That's how bad they are. Roman, they're below you.
Yeah, I know. Feel? Hey, we actually won a game. Well, we brought in a decent striker, but we're not talking about Milan right now. Thank God, at least they won a game.
Napoli have a lot of work to do. Gattuso, I really liked him for Milan because he almost got you guys in the Champions League last year.
Oh, that was a heartbreaker.
And he got you in the Europa League, but then financial fair play issues came in.
Leave it at that, yeah.
But almost got you in the top 4 without any backing from the board in terms of transfers.
Oh, nothing.
So, very impressive for Milan. It just has not translated. And I know it's still early goings for him, but... Crisis Club, they need to turn around big time. They're the bottom half.
Yeah, they do have a few injuries, but their next 2 games in this Serie A, they play Fiorentina and Juve.
Oof. Well, Fiorentina's a winnable one. They're in 14th, but Juve...
And then Sampdoria.
They're going to lose against Juve, and Sampdoria, you should be winning that game as well.
It depends what Sampdoria comes out. It's really weird with that club sometimes. They come out either good or terrible.
Well, they're in 16th. They were like bottom for a while, I think.
Last year they were actually half decent.
Yeah, I know.
That's
this year they've been
went
awful.
absolutely off.
This year they've been quite awful,
Fair.
but
Right.
you know, enough on Napoli. We've covered everything we can about them. Next team, the second team we have, only 2 teams this week. Like I said, the Atlanta Hawks. It's not the first time they've been a crisis club, but at 8-32, it is very ugly the way they're playing right now. Bottom seed in the entire NBA. They are worse than the Warriors, considering how good they were, like how we were thinking they would play this season based on, you know, Trae Young getting better and the young core that they have developed and the young core that they have selected in the draft over the last 2 years. We thought that this team would be competitive. Roman, you thought
I thought they'd be 5th.
You thought they would be the 5 seed.
Yeah, that's a
I'm
horrid
glad
take
you remember.
right now.
I thought they would be a late playoff team, but not as high as 5th. But I thought that, you know, maybe they could be in the playoffs. But Trae Young's had a few injury problems. John Collins has had
He was out for a while.
PED problems. DeAndre Hunter's been all right.
Cam's
Jabari Parker has been playing really well for his standards. Cam Reddish hasn't been tremendous. I mean, you have the greatest of all time, Alex Len, not putting up tremendous numbers as well. There's just a lot of problems with the Atlanta Hawks, and I really like this core, but when Vince Carter is getting the crunch minutes and 15 minutes a game at 43 years old, you have to evaluate the problems with your roster.
Yep.
2 years ago when Trae Young got drafted, he was drafted by the Mavericks because Luka Doncic was selected 3rd by the Atlanta Hawks. So the Mavs selected Trae Young at 5th, and then traded Trae Young and a first-round pick for this year in order to acquire Luka Doncic because they thought he was so good. And last year you kind of thought, well, yeah, sure, Luka Doncic was better, but Trae Young was also really good. Was it really worth trading? You know, because who did the Hawks get with that pick? Did they get they got Cam Reddish and got DeAndre Hunter last year.
They probably would have got Cam.
I guess they got Cam Reddish
Yeah,
with that
Cam with that pick.
Dallas
I'm not
pick.
too sure though.
But anyways,
One of those.
they're comparable in terms of stats. If I laid down to you blindly Trae Young's stats compared to Luka Doncic's stats, you would, you'd say they're pretty even, likely, because Trae Young's putting up 29 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 8.4 assists. Luka Doncic putting up like 28, 8, 28, 9, 9. I don't have it exactly right now.
He's going off.
Regardless, similar stats. But when you look at the NBA standings, you have one team who's bottom of the NBA, and you have another team who's 6th in the West. And if I showed you both rosters that those teams have, you'd probably have a hard time picking the better roster. If I laid down to you both rosters, think about it. If I laid down to you both rosters, who would you say is better on paper?
That's a hard one. Just because of Kristaps at Dallas, you may just take him just because of that.
You would? All right, let me list off some names. So you got Porzingis, Finney Smith, Powell, Hardaway, Kleber, Seth Curry, DeLon Wright, Jalen Brunson, JJ Barea, and then you go to the Hawks roster.
They have a better
You've got DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Jabari Parker, Cam Reddish, Bembry, Alan Crabb, Alex Len, Vince Carter, Evan Turner,
Bruno Fernando.
Bruno Fernando as well. Looking at those two rosters, you would probably take Atlanta, right?
I agree.
Looking at the rosters.
I agree.
So if Luka Doncic and Trae Young both have similar stats, why is one team so much better than the other team?
In a harder conference as well.
In a harder conference. Because Luka Doncic is so good at making everybody else on his team so much better. Trae Young does not share that ability that Luka Doncic has to make everybody in his team better. It's paralleled with LeBron in making a bad team better by yourself, by making everybody else around you better. That's what Luka Doncic is displaying, because Trae Young has not been able to display it this season. As good as Trae Young has been, and it's tough when you have to compare him to a player as gifted as Luka Doncic,
sure.
but that's how I'm looking at it when you're trying to compare them.
Well, you have to.
There's not a comparison between those two players, in my opinion. As good as Trae Young is, this roster is underperforming that he's on, but he has not elevated them like Luka Doncic has with Dallas Mavericks. So when you look back at the trade, you go, wow, the Mavs were onto something. They knew something because they went out of their way to get Luka Doncic off the Atlanta Hawks. They wanted that guy, and they got him.
Which was known as a risk at the time because of him coming
Big
out of
time.
Europe. It was a huge risk.
Well, big time. Think about it. They basically traded Cam Reddish and Trae Young in order to acquire Luka Doncic. Mm-hmm. And if you offered, if you look at it now, it's a no-brainer. Absolutely a no-brainer.
Oh, but when they're first drafted, no, that's a hard pick. You gotta give props to the Dallas' organization for even doing it.
Oh my God, I'm looking at it. No. I was wrong. The Mavs pick was the 4th pick, so they traded not Cam Reddish. They traded the DeAndre Hunter pick.
Okay.
Because the Hawks were better than them, I believe they were. Wait. Hang on. I think I have my stats messed up.
Well, regardless, it was one of the two players. They went they went very high. Both of them did.
Yeah. Hang on, let me just confirm. So the Hawks were 29-53. Okay, no, it was the Cam Reddish pick.
Okay.
My mistake.
No, you're all good.
Regardless, whichever it was, like you said, it looks better on Dallas, even though they gave up such a good player and Trae Young. And I don't know what the next steps are for the Hawks. I mean, first step would be to make Vince Carter retire, and if he doesn't, I mean, you can't be giving him 15 minutes. I think the development of the young players, I don't know if it's on the right track. Jabari Parker's playing a lot better, which is promising, but maybe a little bit more out of DeAndre Hunter, maybe a little bit more out of Cam Reddish.
No, you definitely need more out of Cam. He was shooting horribly.
I think they need some veteran players as well to round out this young core.
Well, one thing that they should not do is bring in a veteran player and put him on a 1 year. Like there was rumors of them trying to bring in Drummond.
Oh, I really don't. There's big rumors about Drummond. I
forgot about that.
Why would you try to get a rental player?
It doesn't make any sense.
When you're one of the worst teams in the NBA at this point in time, they're the worst team in the NBA. Why would you try to get a rental player? You have a young core. You're clearly rebuilding. They're gonna get a lottery pick again, a very high lottery pick this year. The way they're playing,
top 3.
They can stack that roster of young players even further. This can be a good team, I think, in 5 years if they can get the development processes right.
Yep.
But at the moment, they were supposed to be better than this. 8-32.
I thought they'd definitely be better than this.
Didn't they start 3-0 as well?
Did they? I'm not too sure.
I think they started 3-0. I'm gonna try to confirm that, but they've been so underwhelming.
No.
And I know, and I get there's been injuries. I get there's been suspensions.
No, but they started 2-0 and they lost to the 76ers.
2-0.
2-0.
Still.
And then they went
starting
on
2-0,
like a 3-game losing streak.
Starting 2-0, and then since then 6-32.
Yeah, it's just my lord.
So lots of work needs to be done. I mean, I like their picks. I like DeAndre Hunter a lot. I thought Cam Reddish would have been a Rookie of the Year candidate at the start of the year. And I like Bruno Fernando. That's a good second-round pick because I really liked him in the tournament from what I saw.
He's not playing that well right now.
No, he isn't. No, he's not. He's not. But
he was a beast in the college ball, though.
Some work needs to be done. We'll see what the Atlanta Hawks can do for the rest of this season. I think that they should just keep on tanking. Get a high lottery pick and work again next season. But next season has to be better, and they need to shake up that roster a little bit to tinker it around those players that they have. But that will wrap up this episode of Crisis Club Monday. Thank you everyone for joining me. I'll plug it as usual. The merch is available. Go to jakegramenia.redbubble.com to get the amateur merch. There's stickers, there's mugs, there's water bottles.
Merch drop.
Go cop your merch. The link will be in the description as usual. Subscribe on YouTube, like on YouTube, follow on Spotify, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at AmateurPDC. And as usual, we post every single day. So we'll see you tomorrow for another episode.